My name is Liz Carey, and I'm the assistant principal here at St. Martha Catholic School, and I just wanted to welcome everyone tonight. I wanted to express my gratitude to all of you for joining us today for this special occasion, Music of the Holocaust. Your presence here adds immeasurable value to this event. We're truly thankful for your support, your participation. Together, we remember, we commemorate, we stand up against anti-Semitism and all expression of hatred together. So thank you to our event organizers, our musicians, and everyone who has worked so tirelessly to put this gathering together. Your dedication and hard work have not gone unnoticed, and we're grateful for all of your efforts. Again, welcome. Thank you all so much for being here.
Good evening, and on behalf of the Jewish Federation, thank you for joining us. My name is Roxy Black, and along with Ian Black, we are honored to serve as your presenters for this year's Kristallnacht commemoration. We would like to thank St. Martha Catholic School for their gracious hospitality for this evening's program. We'd also like to recognize Liz Alpert, Vice Mayor of City of Sarasota. Thank you for attending. The mission of the Jewish Federation is to strengthen Jewish life, culture, and identity in our community, provide for Jewish people in need, and promote support for Israel. Our federation has a long-standing commitment to Holocaust education. Through events such as tonight's, we honor the memory of those who perished and those who survived to tell their stories so that we may always remember and so that we can keep their legacies alive. We support our schools and encourage them to educate the next generation about the lessons of the Holocaust to help create a world without prejudice and hate. Today, in real time, we are bearing witness to the current rise of anti-Semitism and other expressions of hatred. Our community must heed its warning.
As we welcome you to our Kristallnacht commemorative program, we'd like to remind you of the importance of standing united and strong as a community, no matter our different faiths, races, orientations, abilities, or political affiliations. Exactly 85 years ago, on November the 9th, 1938, anti-Semitism exploded throughout Germany in a pogrom of violence and rage perpetrated against Jews, their properties, places of business, and places of worship. And as the townspeople stood by and watched, the terrifying reality of Hitler's murderous campaign continued to escalate. According to historian and Holocaust scholar Michael Berenbaum, Kristallnacht was the end of the beginning and the beginning of the end of the Holocaust. Historical documentation reveals that Jews did not sit idle throughout the Holocaust. Despite the odds, many Jews practiced some form of resistance, whether it was cultural and spiritual or armed and active. This evening, we take a journey through the music of the Holocaust. Although song is perhaps not something that people typically associate with the Holocaust.
And yet a wealth of music was played and songs sung while victims were interned in the ghettos and camps. Victims sang about their worries, their captors, their lives before internment, and their inner emotional worlds. Music offered Jews a way to express their humanity in inhuman conditions, to escape from reality and give voice to their yearning for freedom, and to find comfort and hope. Indeed, music became a symbol of resistance and of the hope for freedom. In Terezin concentration camp, where many Jewish musicians, composers, and artists were interned, many compositions were created and performed. In some camps and killing centers, Germans formed orchestras from among the prisoners and forced them to play when new prisoners arrived in the camp as they marched to work and on their way to the gas chambers. Many songs of the Holocaust period were never collected and sadly have been lost forever.
But luckily, the documentation and publication of songs from the Holocaust and the composing of new songs began shortly after the end of World War II. As the number of our Holocaust survivors continues to dwindle, we are facing a profound shift in our relationship with the Holocaust, and our reliance on their precious and priceless first-person testimony becomes even more precarious. Fortunately, the songs of the camp and the ghettos count as part of the expanded body of testimony. These songs can help us to access the emotional world, specifically of the victims and generally of the Holocaust itself, by enabling us to witness a collective experience sung and resung by countless individuals. Different from the individual memory of first-person testimony, song also enables us to access the emotional life of communities in terrible jeopardy and to connect to their extraordinary creativity in the face of such brutality.
With gratitude, let us all rejoice, for we have been given this extraordinary gift of music, a gift that can shed some light in the darkness. And now, let us listen to the Holocaust. We begin our program with our anthems, followed by Rabbi Sigal uniting us all in prayers for Israel. Our journey through music of the Holocaust will then begin with Avi Winsia, who shares the story of his grandfather, Cantor David Wisnia. Cantor Riselle Bain will then share her renditions of memorable songs of the Holocaust. Megan and Emily Scarbrough then follow with excerpts of the opera Brundabar.
I invite you now to please rise as you are able. Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say, does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
עולות בלבב פנימה, נפש יהודי הומיה, ולפתי מזרח קדימה, עין לציון סופיה. עוד לא אבדה תקוותנו, התקווה בת שנות 2000, להיות עם חופשי בארצנו, ארץ ציון וירושלים. להיות עם חופשי בארצנו, ארץ ציון וירושלים. You may be seated. In the Jewish year cycle, we have several days of remembrance, commemorating moments in history when destruction befell Jewish communities. Today, a month after the brutal attack of Israel on October 7th, we remember Kristallnacht, an awful attack on Jewish communities in Germany, which happened 85 years ago. Kristallnacht events deeply resonate with this very moment in history. Kristallnacht, the night of broken glass that marked the beginning of the violence against Jews in the Second World War, the beginning of the Holocaust. It is eerily similar to the brutal, large-scale, simultaneous attack on 128 communities in Israel a month ago. As we remember 85 years ago, we also pray for Israel, where the war to defend Israel continues. We dedicate our time together to the healing, comfort, safety, and well-being of all innocent people in and around Israel. We pray for the safety return of the hostages and the safe return of the soldiers. We stand united with Israel in their mourning, resilience, fighting, rebuilding, and hope. Guardian of Israel, protect Israel, guard her. Shomer, Shomer Israel, Shemor Sherit Israel, Ve'al Yervad Israel, האומרים Shema Israel, האומרים Shema Israel. God on high, hear our prayers in our need. You have always been there. They are young and afraid. Set them free. Heaven bless. Bring them home. Bring them home. Bring them home. Oh, bring them home.
Good evening. It's me over here by the piano. It is an honor to be with you tonight. I'm here from the beautiful exotic land of Pennsylvania, which is where my family is from, but not originally. Although I grew up in the Pennsylvania, New Jersey region, my family is from Poland a few generations back. And one of the last trips that I took with my grandfather, Cantor David Wisnia, my Saba, was to go back to Poland one last time to perform together. This was January 2020. Little did we know it was the first time, the last time that we would be together to perform and to make music. When you fly into Poland, if you land in Warsaw, you land at what is now called the Chopin Airport, named after one of Poland's most famous composers. And because music is such a big part of my grandfather's life and what bound us together, I start tonight with a prelude from Chopin. Our voices are powerful. They can comfort and they can hurt. They can save lives and they can cause incredible destruction. Our silence is powerful too. As a singer, I love using my voice to connect with others, create shared experience, like what we are doing tonight through music, to create something we are experiencing together. My grandfather, my Saba, was also a singer. He was a cantor. And I learned from him just how powerful one voice can be. My grandfather was a man who was always singing. You know, like when he woke up in the morning, it was bum, biddy, bum, 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 right to the bathroom. When he called me on the phone, it was never just hello, it was always hello. When he ordered from the waitress at Moish and Itzi's diner, it was, are you Polish? Let me sing you a song I know. Oh, Hungarian? I got one of those too. He would sing for anyone, anytime. Music is what kept him going throughout his entire life, and music plays a central part in his story. His incredible singing voice is one of the reasons why he survived the Holocaust. And although my grandfather is no longer with us, I'm glad to say that we do have recordings of him so that his voice can still be heard. He can still tell his story, in part, in his own voice. So I'd like you to now hear a bit of my grandfather and what he learned growing up, a little bit of liturgy, Cantor David Wisnia singing.
Sheibane Beit Hamikdash. Sheibane Beit Hamikdash Bimhera Beyameino Yehi Ratzon Milfarnecha Ratzon Yehi Ratzon Milfarnecha Yehi Ratzon Milfarnecha Sheibane Beit Hamikdash Sheibane Beit Hamikdash Meten Chalkeinu B'Toratecha B'Shom Navodecha Be'ira
That's my Saba. My grandfather didn't talk about his story for a long time, decades even. But what helped him was music. He was able to articulate things with music that he couldn't in words. And so tonight, as I tell pieces of his story, I'm going to have the music help me articulate some of it. Now, my grandfather was born in the town of Sochachev, a suburb outside of the capital city, Warsaw. That's where his parents, Eliyahu and Machla, raised their young family. My grandfather had two brothers, Moshe and Dov, and they were 3 years apart with David in the middle, but David was the star. My grandfather could speak 5 languages by the age of 10. He began singing in theaters and appearing on Polish radio with an orchestra and performing solos in the grand synagogues of Warsaw. As you could hear in that clip, he was trained by world-famous cantors, Kosovitsky and Sirota, mentors who taught him how to blend Jewish tradition with a grand operatic style. At that time, Poland had a booming Jewish population. Some 3 million Jews lived in the country, and my grandfather's family participated in that thriving Jewish society. There was certainly anti-Semitism. Jewish students were often bullied, even beaten by fellow classmates in the public school if they did not stand and say a Catholic prayer in class. My grandfather was one of those students bullied and beaten for being Jewish. But even still, my grandfather had many happy childhood memories from Poland. And even though he rarely spoke of his family, he always sang this song, and I think it was his way of talking about his family without talking about his family. He was able to sing about it. A song made famous by Jan Pierce called Mamele. Mamele, Mamele, Mother dear, I'll always call you Mamele. Tired eyes, wrinkled hands, and a loving heart that always understands. I remember how you used to comfort me, a little boy of 3 in bygone years. I remember how you took me on your knee. With a kiss, you would dry my tears. Silvery hair, heart of gold. Mama, how I hate to see you growing old. Mama, live, Mama, live. May God bless you, dear Mama, live. Mama, live. Mama, live. Mother dear, I'll always call you Mama, live. Mama, live. Mama, live. May God bless you, dear Mama, Mama, live. When my grandfather's family moved to Warsaw, my grandfather started to entertain big dreams of becoming an opera star. But those plans would be cut short in 1939. Germany invaded Poland, and little by little things began to change. German soldiers with guns started patrolling the streets. Jews were forced to close the businesses they owned. Jews had to wear armbands with the Jewish star on them, identifying them. David was just 13 years old when the Germans forced all of the Jews out of their homes and squeezed them into one section of the city, which became the Warsaw Ghetto. Food was harder and harder to come by. David and his little brother Dov had to sleep on the floor. The conditions got so bad that his older brother Moshe said goodbye to the family to try and be with family elsewhere. But Moshe was never seen again. Eliyahu had to close the family furniture factory, but he was at least able to get work as a carpenter at the main airport in Warsaw. One morning, Eliyahu asked David to go to work in his place for that day. David didn't know why, but he was thrilled to be outside the ghetto walls for the first time in over a year. Work at the airport that day would be unremarkable, cleaning, lifting, and stacking, but what my grandfather remembered most was the ride in the truck, the sight of the green Polish countryside, the feel of the breeze on his face, the scent of the air. He had forgotten what clean air smelled like. At the end of the day, as the truck returned to the ghetto, David noticed that something was not right, and the truck stopped blocks away from where he was supposed to be dropped off. He began to walk the rest of the way back to his apartment on foot. And as he got closer, he noticed that guards, these were more imposing, more menacing looking than the German patrol soldiers. These were the Nazi SS. "Halt!" they shouted and forced him to turn around. So he tried to go another way. He knew some side streets, and he came across a man crouching as he got closer, a man crouching and hiding, who described what had happened that day. The SS had shown up with bullhorns, ordering everyone out in under 10 minutes. It was a test run to see how quickly they could load people onto trucks. But the people of the building did not get out fast enough. And when the people of the building finally did come out, the Nazis shot everyone. And that is how my grandfather became an orphan that day. He noticed there the pile, his mother's coat, his father's hand, his little brother Dove. Who knows how long he cried there? It wasn't until another Jew came and pushed him away from the bodies. After all, the Jews of the ghetto were the ones who had to clean up the mess that was left by the Nazi guards. David was bewildered and alone in the world. And he did the only thing he could think of. He ran. Ripping off his armband and crawling through an unfinished fence of the ghetto, David found his way to one of his non-Jewish friends who helped him flee Warsaw. This was the beginning of a series of escapes with the help of non-Jewish neighbors and acquaintances, people who risked their lives to defy the Germans and smuggle him from place to place. But he could only hide for so long. In December 1942, my grandfather was finally found without papers or identification and transported in a cattle car to a place called Oswiecim in Polish. The Germans called it Auschwitz.
Moishelach, Shleimelach. It's a very sad song, very short, telling the story that there is no more right after World War II. Moishelach, Shleimelach, little ones playing in Poland, how they all disappeared. And here it is. Unter die polnische grünige Bäumelach spielen sich mehr nicht kein Mäuselach, Schleimelach. Spielen sich mehr nicht kein Surlach, Leelach, nicht auf kein Gräselach, nicht auf kein Schneelach. Hilchen zijn meer niet, kein jiddische stimmelach, von dick und Deisenlach, Mottelach, Schimmelach. Mit die zerkrellte, zerdrappete Zurlach, von dem Beweisen, von der im Entwurlach.
My grandfather had never heard of Auschwitz, but he quickly found out how cruel and horrible the place would be. They took away his name and replaced it with a number, 83526, the number tattooed on his forearm. His first job in the concentration camp was to collect the bodies of other prisoners who committed suicide. This was gruesome work. And my grandfather told me, had he continued doing this job day after day, he would have never survived it. But after a few weeks, word started to get around in the camp that prisoner 83526 really knew how to sing. And he ended up forced in front of a crowd of drunken Nazi soldiers, entertaining them in the evenings with songs that he knew from his days performing as a young boy. German songs, English songs, even a Yiddish song that was popular at the time. Bei mir bist du schön. The Nazis loved it. Because of his remarkable voice, David became what he called a privileged prisoner. Now, to be a privileged prisoner in a place like Auschwitz basically meant that you were only a little more likely to live to see another day, and this became his mantra: just another day, just another day. And I think his singing allowed him to see beyond the barbed wire. Just another day, for 2.5 years. But another day was never guaranteed. And while he was in the camp, remarkably, not only did music sustain him and his Nazi captors, he also composed a song that survived along with him when he left the camp, that is now in the archives of the United States Holocaust Memorial Museum in Washington, D.C. And as we traveled together, he wrote it in his native tongue of Polish. He would perform it, and he always wanted people to be able to understand it, to be able to go out to a wider audience. So with his help, we sat down, and he translated it for me, and I wrote out an English version of this song that I would like to play for you now. A song that my grandfather composed called Oswiecim in Polish, and the Germans called it Auschwitz. I remember it so clearly, my days in Oswiecim. Got out alive just nearly, and still the name it stings. Still I see that place, enduring like the scars I can't erase. Appell, Abstand, Mieten up, hear the sergeant's call. You wish you were never born at all. Oswiecim, through pain and sickness, always working, Oswiecim. With death behind you, always looking, Oswiecim, Oswiecim, evil like some twisted dream. Never mind the hope of fleeing, hunger is the only feeling, Oswiecim. Like numbers on my arm, it lingers, Oswiecim. I curse you with my broken fingers, Oswiecim, Oswiecim. Heart be hard as stone, hatred is the greenest weed you've grown, Oswiecim. Through pain and sickness, always working, Oswiecim. With death behind you, always lurking, Oswiecim, Oswiecim. Evil like some twisted dream. Never mind the hope of fleeing. Hunger is the only feeling, Oswiecim. Like numbers on my arm, it lingers, Oswiecim. I curse you with my broken fingers, Oswiecim, Oswiecim. Heart be hard as stone. Hatred is the greenest weed you've grown. As World War II raged on, and the tides turned against the Germans, the Nazis started to empty out the concentration camps. And it was during one of these transports when my grandfather took his chance and made a daring escape. He wandered alone, running, hiding, until one day he saw a column of tanks, jeeps, and army trucks barreling down the highway. It got close enough to where he could just see on the sides of the vehicles the outline of stars. David bolted down the hill and ended up right in the middle of the highway. The entire column of jeeps and tanks and trucks stopped. As my grandfather would describe it, the lid opened on that lead tank and out popped the captain, of the United States 101st Airborne, Captain James L. Walker from South Carolina. David knew many languages, but that was the first time he had heard anything like a thick Southern American drawl. My grandfather told them where he had come from, and right there, the soldiers picked him up and took him with them, liberating European towns from the German soldiers. They put his knowledge of languages to work as a translator, as David helped them tell defeated German soldiers to throw down their arms, and they adopted him as their little Davy. His army buddies brought him home with them in 1946, their ship landing in beautiful Hoboken, New Jersey. My grandfather married a nice Jewish girl from Brooklyn and moved to the suburbs of Philadelphia to raise their family. Although the small synagogue there had a rabbi, they had no cantor. So my grandfather volunteered on a few Friday nights. And after all he had been through, my grandfather again found his community, and he was able to lead them in song. And my grandfather continued singing as a cantor in the United States for the next 50 years. When my grandfather first arrived in the United States, he still had his Auschwitz prisoner tattooed on his arm, that number, 83526. He went through a painful procedure to have it removed, but he could not get rid of all of it. Till the day he died just 2 summers ago, a curve of the 6, that last digit, still remained on his arm. The tattoo is such a cruel metaphor of the legacy of the Holocaust. How deep does the ink go? The prisoner tattoo is just another device used by the Nazis to strip away the humanity from the people that they did not like. Because it's easier to be cruel when you stop regarding another human being as a human being. And my Saba's story is full of examples of what happens when we stop regarding one another as human beings. And his story is full of examples of those that reached out to help. Those that risked their own lives to save his, those that remembered their shared humanity, those that recognized how we are all responsible for one another. We are responsible for one another. My grandfather used his voice to save himself during the Holocaust, but he could not have done it alone. It is the ongoing work of every day to use our own voices to speak out against injustice and discrimination. And we must also be honest and do the work to recognize when hate starts to fester within ourselves. Tonight, I am honored to share my voice with you. When we were last in Poland, I was able to sing a song that really encapsulates what it meant for me to be with my grandfather on these travels. It is an Israeli song that was sung by Ofra Haza, written by Ehud Manor and Avi Toledano. And the chorus says, Ze hashir shesaba sharet mo le'aba v'hayom ani. This is the song that my Saba sang to my father, my Abba. And today, I sing it. Chai, life. Chai, we are alive. Chai, we continue to live. Shim'u echai, ani od chai, ushte enai od nisaot laor, rabim chochai, ach gam prachai, ולפני שנים רבות מספור, אני שואל ומתפלל, טוב שלא אבדה עוד התקווה. עובר מזמור מדור לדור, כמעיין מאז ועד עולם. אני שואל ומתפלל, טוב שלא אבדה עוד התקווה. חי, 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 כן אני עוד חי. זה השיר שסבא שר אתמול לאבא, והיום אני עוד חי. כן אני עוד חי. זה השיר שסבא שר אתמול לאבא, והיום שימעו אחי, אני עוד חי, ושתי עיניי עוד נישאות לאור. אז כל אחי לכל קוראי, ולבניי המבקשים לחזור. אני שואל ומתפלל, טוב שלא אבדה עוד התקווה. חי, 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 כן אני עוד חי. זה השיר שסבא שר אתמול לאבא, והיום אני עוד חי. עם ישראל חי. זה השיר שסבא שר אתמול לאבא, והיום אני עוד חי. כן אני עוד חי. זה השיר שסבא שר אתמול לאבא, והיום אני. My grandfather's voice forever echoes in my head. His story and his music live on in me. Now that you have heard it, it also lives on in you. That's what happens when we tell our stories to each other. Let us keep telling these stories so that we remember our shared humanity, and let's keep reminding each other so that we never forget. Thank you.
Good evening. I see so many familiar faces here tonight. It warms my heart. And I know I speak for Ann Moe, who will be accompanying me, and myself, Cantor, Riselle, Bain. I am honored to be with you tonight. The voices that were taken from us, we are the voices that are left. We must be their voices carrying their song. Ani ma'amin, I believe, is a short creed based on the 13 articles of faith formulated by Maimonides. The familiar version that we will chant is set to a haunting melody that is attributed to Azriel David Fastig, a chassid, whose compositions were sung in the court of the Modzitzer Rebbe, Rabbi Shaul Yedidia Elazar. Azriel reportedly composed the tune in a cattle car while being transported to Treblinka. He announced that he would give half of his share to the world to come, to whoever would bring the tune to the Modzitzer Rebbe, who had escaped Europe in 1940. Two men took him up on the offer and leaped from the moving train. One died from the fall, but the other survived and eventually brought the tune to the Rebbe's son in Israel. That tune was sung by dozens of Jews as they marched to the gas chambers in the Nazi death camps. I will also be adding a second melodic theme to the traditional one tonight. It was written by Cantor William Hauben, who also survived the camps during the Holocaust by singing. Cantor Hauben and I worked at different synagogues in Tampa, and we were friends. One day, we were sitting in my office, and he started singing to me. I recorded him and transcribed the recording into a piece of sheet music. Ani ma'amin, I believe with complete faith in the coming of the Messiah. And even though the Messiah may tarry, nonetheless, I believe. Ani ma'amin be'emunah shlema b'viat hamashiach b'viat hamashiach באמונה שלמה בביאת המשיח אני מאמין אני מאמין אני מאמין
was composed in 1938 by Hans Krause, with lyrics by Adolf Hofmeister, as an entry for a children's opera competition. Wunderbar was performed 55 times by the children of Theresienstadt. The children's 55th performance was for the inspection visit by the International Red Cross in 1944. This would be the last performance of Wunderbar, as 2 weeks later, the deportations of children and families to the concentration camps began. The plays, music, poems, paintings, and other works of art created by the prisoners of Theresienstadt, which survive today, are a testament to how art, as one survivor wrote, transcended itself and acquired a dimension of sheer survival.
Wunderbar is about little Joe and Annette, who need to buy milk for their sick mother but have no money. The organ grinder Wunderbar is playing his hurdy-gurdy on the street corner, collecting the money from passers-by. The children decide that they too will sing and collect money, but are laughed at and chased away by Wunderbar. The children meet a group of dogs, cats, and sparrows who encourage the children to stand up to Wunderbar, so the children sing a lullaby for the townspeople. Wunderbar tries to steal the children's earning, but after a brief chase is caught, and the children sing a song of victory.
Mom rocks a cradle, which time left empty cold, and wonders what will be when she is frail and old. Doggone children, what's a bother? If I only were their father, I would teach them proper manners, courtesy, respect, and honor. And you kids don't make a riot. Where I rule, you must be quiet. Here's my empire, I'm the Tsar, organ grinder, Brundi bar. When I play and turn this handle, sing with me, don't make a scandal. Don't you like my music making? Out of here or you'll be aching. Of this show I am the star, organ grinder, Brundi bar. Music is for poor and wealthy. If you wish to stay unhealthy, listen to my songs and dances. They will satisfy your fancies. Waltz and polka, foxtrot, gallop, all my tunes are what's a wallop. Dance to them, please slower, faster. Here I am, your music master, mightier than any czar, organ grinder, Brundi bar.
Thank you so very much for those beautiful performances. Now honor 6 of our local Holocaust survivors, lighting 6 candles representing the 6 million Jews who perished during the Holocaust. They are accompanied by local educators who this summer had the life-changing educational experience of visiting Poland. We will then welcome back Cantor, Riselle, and Rabbi Sigal, followed by some truly poignant words from the Federation's Chief Executive Officer, Shepherd Englander, who just returned from a humanitarian mission to Israel.
My name is Peter Konstam, born in the Netherlands, of Jewish parents who had to flee Germany, whose synagogue was destroyed completely in Nuremberg during Kristallnacht. By chance, Anne Frank and the Otto Frank family were my very good friends. I grew up with Anne Frank, who was my friend, babysitter, playmate, for my first 7 years in the Netherlands, until we both had to flee. She in concentration camp died of typhus. We, after a long ordeal of 1 year landed in Argentina. To quote Anne Frank, we are here. Hope was never taken from us, that invisible thing we had in the camps. So, I'm here, privileged to be a survivor and remember the living and the dead. That was Eli Wiesel. Thank you.
My name is Marcel Infeld. I was born in Antwerp, Belgium in 1939. My family survived the war by obtaining forged documents identifying us as Dutch citizens. That enabled us to find refuge in Switzerland in 1943, but not before my father was deported to Auschwitz, where he was murdered. My wife and I have one young adopted daughter who is engaged to be married next year. I light this candle in memory of the millions of innocent Jews who were slaughtered by the Germans.
My name is Jeanette Hirsch. I was born in Paris, France. I survived because of all those principals in the school that hid me, even though they knew I was Jewish. I am here, and I'm going to be 96 years old.
I was born in Hungary to a large family, and we were deported to Bergen-Belsen from Hungary. My father was killed in forced labor camp. My brother, my mother, and I survived. But my mother and father, my father was one of 13 children. My mother was one of 8. And half families did not survive. My father was in forced labor camp with a brother-in-law. He survived. He came home to find his wife and 2 children taken to Auschwitz and murdered there. Unfortunately, this was our life as children. We eventually wound up in Switzerland after Bergen-Belsen because the British would not allow us into Palestine. But finally, in 1945, we were allowed to enter Palestine. And I grew up there and started first grade. I was almost 8 years old in a language that I did not speak. But I learned quickly. And now I speak fluently Hebrew, Hungarian, and English. I am 86 years old. I have 2 children and 3 grandchildren. We send our children to a Jewish day school in Maryland, the Charles E. Smith Jewish Day School. And my daughter sent her 3 children, and they all graduated the Charles E. Smith Jewish Day School. And my oldest grandson said, if I get married in Maryland and I have children, they are going to Charles E. Smith Jewish Day School. So that's our pride and joy. And thank you very much.
My name is Marlies Glug. I was born in Zwolle, the Netherlands, 1 month before it was invaded by the Nazis. During the Holocaust, I was boarded with a Dutch Christian family and treated as one of their own. I survived the war as a child by living the way the other 2, my brother and sister, did. And after the war, I requested my parents get me a brother. I'm 83. I have 2 sons, I have 2 granddaughters, and I have 1 great-grandchild.
My name is Laura Tobias. My family had lived in the same town in Germany near Heidelberg going back to 1652. I am the 10th generation of my family to have lived in this town in Germany. We came to the United States because through the kindness of strangers who gave us papers. The last memory I have of my grandmother who did not make it out. In fact, my immediate family, we were the only ones who survived. Last time I saw my grandmother, who lived in another little town nearby, my father and I went to say goodbye to her. She blessed us. She gave us her prayer book. The next time I saw her, we were on the train getting ready to go to Bremerhaven, where we would board the ship to go to the United States. And again, as I said, only through the kindness of strangers did we get the papers to enter the United States. And I have lived here, and I have a wonderful family, and thank you for inviting us.
הרופא לשבורי לב ומכבש לעצבותם מונה מספר הכוכבים וכולם שמות יקרא Healer of the broken-hearted Binder of the wounds Counter of uncountable stars You know where they are Ana ilna refanala Ana ilna refanalo Ana ilna A prayer for peace. May it be your will, Adonai, our God, God of our ancestors, that wars, bloodshed be abolished from the world and bring into the world a great and wonderful lasting peace. And let no nation lift a sword against a nation. Let them learn war no more. Let all who dwell on earth simply acknowledge the truth of truths, that we have not come into this world for the sake of quarreling and war, nor for the sake of hatred, jealousy, anger, or bloodshed. Rather, we have come into this world only to know our deep interconnectedness and to know love. Have mercy on us, God, and fulfill among us what is written in your scripture. I shall give peace upon the earth, and you shall lie down with none to make you afraid. I shall abolish from the earth the predatory beast. The sword shall never come upon your land. Justice shall roll down like the waters, and righteousness like a mighty stream. For the earth shall be filled with knowledge of God as the waters fill the seas. יברכך אדוני וישמרך. יאר אדוניו פניו אליך ויחונך. יישא אדוני פניו אליך וישם לך שלום. May God bless you and protect you. May God's light shine on you and be gracious to you. May God always be near you to bring you peace, to fill you with peace. May it be so. Join me. May it be so. And again. May it be so. Ken yehi ratzon. Mourners Kaddish. We affirm our awareness of holiness in our world, that much of our experience of divine goodness, grace, and love has come to us through those whose lives have touched our own. As we remember them, we invoke the transcendent power of love and caring as we sanctify God's name. Yitgadal ve'yitkadash shmei Rabbi. בעולמה דברה חירותי וימליך מלכותי בחייכון וביומכון ובחיי דכל בית ישראל בעגלה ובזמן קרי ואמרו אמן. יהי שמי רבה מבורך לעולם ולעולמי עולמיה. יתברך וישתבח ויתפאר ויתרומם ויתנשא ויתהדר ויתעלה ויתהלל שמי דקודשה בריחו. לעילה מכל ברכתה ושירתה, תושבחתה ונחמתה, דאמירן בעולמה ואמרו אמן. יהי שלמה רבה מן שמיה, וחיים עלינו ועל כל ישראל ואמרו אמן. עושה שלום במרומיו, הוא יעשה שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל ועל כל יושבי תבל ואמרו אמן. הוא עושה שלום במרומיו, הוא יעשה שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל ואמרו אמן. יעשה שלום, יעשה שלום, שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל. יעשה שלום, יעשה שלום, שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל. יעשה שלום, יעשה שלום, שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל. יעשה שלום, יעשה שלום, שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל ועל כל יושבי תבל. Peace.
Please be seated.
I did just return from Israel. I saw things I never wanted to see. I grew up with survivors at my dinner table, my Shabbat table. My father lost most of his family at Auschwitz. Understanding why what happened on October 7th echoed what we thought would never happen again is urgently important, but it's too late to reflect on that tonight. We will be gathering on Sunday afternoon, this Sunday, at the Circus Arena on Bahia Vista, and we will commemorate those lost on October 7th, the hostages still held, and what it means for our future. I hope you'll join us there. And I want to thank you for being with us tonight on this important commemoration.
Thank you to our beloved Holocaust survivors, our invaluable educators, as well as Cantor, Rabbi, and Shepherd Englander for those beautiful and meaningful words. Today, while we commemorate and pay tribute to the history of the past, we must always remember that history can repeat itself. We are currently witnessing a resurgence around the world of anti-Semitism, of name-calling, intimidation, threats, persecution, and violence being perpetrated by those who still harbor the beliefs and conspiracy theories whose seeds were planted so many years ago and whose roots are so deeply embedded and woven into the fabric of a dark sector of our society today. Educating about the Holocaust and its lessons is an important and time-sensitive mandate to help combat today's insidious resurgence of anti-Semitism. And while Israel is going through what seems to be a second war for independence, we still feel strongly that by educating people about the lessons of the Holocaust, we can truly make a difference and help to prevent a state-sponsored genocide of the Jewish people from ever happening again. We must teach our champions of the future, our children, to stand up to resist, reject, and refute all forms of hatred, and we must stand together in solidarity to hope for peace for all. Today, this is even more true than ever.
Jew hatred is raising its ugly head around the world, and we all know about the acts of hatred and violence perpetrated in the last few years, many right here in Sarasota-Manatee. We must be upstanders, not bystanders, when these heinous events occur. Again, by standing up for what is right, we can make a difference. The rise of anti-Jewish hate is not just a problem for Jews to solve. It is the harbinger of a cancer in our society that is fostering the spread of hatred against many groups of others. It's up to all of us to act, and to act now. Let us remember the poem by the prominent German pastor Martin Niemöller, who wrote, "First they came for the socialists, and I did not speak out, because I was not a socialist. Then they came for the trade unionists, and I did not speak out, because I was not a trade unionist. Then they came for the Jews, and I did not speak out, because I was not a Jew. Then they came for me, and there was no one left to speak for me."
Thank you all for joining us in solidarity. I'd like to extend a sincere thank you to Betty Zaret for her dedication in fighting anti-Semitism and making this evening so memorable.
Sag nicht keinmal, als du gehst den letzten Weg. Hast in Lechayene verstellen bleue Tag. Kommen wird noch unter Reus gewähnte Schau. Das Wetter beugt und unser Trott, wir seinen Tod. Kommen wird noch unter Reus gewähnte Schau. Das Wetter beugt und unser Trott, wir seinen Tod. Oh, never say that you have reached the very end. Though laden skies a bitter future may portend, because the hour for which we yearn will yet arrive, and our marching steps will thunder, we survive, because the hour for which we yearned will yet arrive. Never say that you have reached the very end, though leaden skies a bitter future may portend, because the hour for which we yearn will yet arrive, and our marching steps will thunder, we survive, because the hour for which we yearn will yet arrive, and our marching steps will thunder, we